Ryan?
Well, I mean, I think IFC is known now for really doing different kinds of distribution. All of our films are available on demand when they go theatrical. And we did that with Savage Grace last year. The movie made about $500,000 at the theaters, but probably on demand, probably double the amount of people saw it because it's available in 50 million homes in all major markets across the country. So, you know, that's one way that we're good. And it also, you know, when you're in theaters, you have like a weekend to kind of prove yourself. And if you do well, you hang on. But there's so many movies opening every week that it's been so hard to stay on screen. So with the on-demand, you're also on demand for like 3 months following the theatrical release. And it allows people to catch up with the movie. I mean, you know, you want everyone to go every opening weekend, but the reality is there's a lot of people that want to see the movie but just can't. And so that's one of the ways our company has been working to get movies out there. The other thing is we also have Sundance Channel and IFC TV, which are part of our company, and they play a lot of gay and lesbian films. I mean, I think a lot of classic films that have been talked about now. So, you know, we're trying to get these films out there, and I think, you know, if as many people can watch these movies on demand, I think that's encouraging.
You know, we've had obviously recently some very big, high-profile gay movies within the studio and the independent system. We have Brokeback Mountain, Milk. But are these existing in a bubble when you try to get gay-themed projects off the ground, or have you seen a sea change in the way all sorts of people, producers, executives, marketing, how they respond to them?
Well, as probably the oldest member of the panel, you know, it's interesting because you're talking about saturation in a marketplace with these provocative, innovative, fresh films from great filmmakers, and it's tough to rise above the surface line to get attention from a gay audience and hopefully achieve crossover, which you guys have done successfully in a number of films. I remember, you know, when Making Love was a 20th Century Fox movie, it was a bold move. Sherry Lansing says, I'm going to get my feet wet and try to do this movie for all the right reasons, and of course, you know, it just didn't perform. So being in a bandwagon business of sorts, you know, the studio stayed away from gay-themed movies. It was at the time, it was bold and provocative and all the things today. Of course, bold and provocative by definition has changed today, and you push the envelope, as you said earlier, Ryan, which is you're just trying to get the attention to an audience that there's so much product out there, not only in the gay market, but in the straight market. I mean, every weekend there's, you know, look at the release dates at studios. But I've traveled just, you know, my career mostly in the studio world, and not necessarily gay films. I got my feet wet prior to Prayers for Bobby when Dan and Chris brought me the project with Three of Hearts. And it was a provocative movie, I thought, I reacted. My taste tends to be quite eclectic, and I thought it was a wonderful film, so we financed it ourselves with New Line, and we tried to make it for a budget, and at the time it was Billy Baldwin, Sherilyn Fenn, and Kelly Lynch in a gay relationship. And I remember Sherilyn Fenn had the foreign cachet because she had Twin Peaks, so that helped us get the funding and, you know, with foreign guarantee to make that movie. And it didn't perform, you know, in the marketplace. It's, you know, challenging to promote these movies. It's challenging to promote any movie. But, you know, I see here at Sundance, I go wall to wall with movies, and it really is terrific. I mean, there are a lot of, we just came out of 2 movies already this morning that, you know, gay-themed movies, and a number of them may in fact wind up being studio movies, we'll see. But, you know, in my life, I remember television broke the groundwork for gay-themed movies. If you remember, and you know, you guys maybe remember this, but that certain summer was a groundbreaking film, and it was followed by Early Frost, which I'm delighted to say Variety compared our movie to the groundbreaking nature of Early Frost. And, you know, when you think about Angels in America and Showtime and the kind of the band played on, the provocative nature of the movies that you guys are involved in, you know, it's great that you make them, and you try to make them for certain budget levels where there's a light at the end of the rainbow. But with the studios, whether it's gay or straight, I find just for myself, and fortunately I got 3 movies that will be coming out later this year in addition to the Aaron and Prayers for Bobby, I think sometimes it's the sizzle, not the steak. I think, you know, it's a good story and a good script is what we all achieve to have. But I think it's about who's directing it, who's starring it. I often refer to you have to sell the sizzle as much as the steak with a studio. But you guys have been able to also finance films independently, and you've also crossed over on a number of those films. But I think when a studio says no to me, I get encouraged because I think it must be provocative, original, distinctive, all the things that scare them, so I'm thinking that's a good thing to get no. Of course, we got no for 12 years, so.
Every studio, every network.
Yeah, Dan said to me this morning at the screening, he says, everybody in this theater this morning passed on the movie. I said, Dan, everybody passed on the movie.
Everybody, there wasn't anybody left.
But just in closing, the one thing that I am really proud of with Prayers for Bobby and for us, as Dan said, accessibility, because we're in the bedrooms of the 3,000 miles between California and New York, so it's a movie that has an accessibility. One doesn't have to be gay to appreciate this movie. It's about loss. It's about a lot of things. And Dan took the print up to Walnut Creek, where Mary still lives with her family members in the same house where Bobby lived prior to him taking his life. And the most amazing thing, we go through this process on true film, true life stories, and you never know how they're interpreted on the screen. And it was unbelievable. I mean, Dan, you witnessed it. I didn't, but the Griffin family really embraced the film. After optioning the project for every 12 years, our option was up, so they didn't believe this was happening. They joined us when we were shooting, and actually both Bob and Mary were in the Gay Pride Parade, and it's a prescient movie as well, as what you said, the politics and the nature of where we're at in our society today, and just as Milk is, and fortunately, that's seeing an audience, and hopefully it'll get some of the accolades coming up and go on a wider release.
I also just want to throw in that, our jobs, all of us as filmmakers, wherever you're at on the spectrum, if you're involved in a film, in a gay-themed film, and you're proud of the film, we know all too well that the work doesn't stop until it's opening night or it's broadcast night. It just doesn't stop. We're all here for the same collective purpose. And the networks, the studios, the distributors, they can only do so much. Everybody's got